Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Ho ho, look at those fruits. Oh my god, I should wear my hair like this. But anyway, I'm like transparent. I'm so white because I wanted to wear a paler foundation tonight. I hope we're all well. How are we doing? Let me know if you can hear and see me okay. I have my chat open, one sec. Let me just be sure that it's working. Has anybody written in the chat yet? Just so I can see if it's working okay. Mine is blank, which is unusual. Ah, there we go. Hello, everyone. I was so looking forward to coming on tonight and just having a bit of a distraction. So I hope we're all well. It's like the highlight, getting to speak with people even though we're not together. My light keeps dimming, so let me just move this in slightly. How's all of our week? Anything exciting or out of the ordinary happen on our 5K walk? What out of the ordinary could happen, you ask? And I feel the same. Oh my God, Carol got a puppy. Carol, you will have to put a photograph of your puppy into WhatsApp group. My whole team are puppy/dog obsessed. I would love one. Oh my God, congratulations. I'd say you're up all night training the puppy. Oh, so jealous. I'd love a bit of excitement or a little pal like that in my life, you know? Don't think my boyfriend would be too keen on a puppy because he'd be the one out walking it the whole time. Yeah, no sleep, Carl says. Miriam's asking what type of puppy. Oh, can't wait to see a picture. Hope everyone else had a nice week or weekend. Can't believe another week is gone. So tonight, like I said in WhatsApp group, we are going full glam. Like I am going to be transformed by the end. Oh, it's a cockapoo and she called him Coco. Oh, maybe it's not a boy. Sorry, I shouldn't say him. Called it Coco. So yes, we're going red lips. We are going cream contour. So it's a slightly heavier take. And we're doing lashes. We're going to have, the good news is kind of a softer eyeshadow look. So it's a lot easier for some people. If you did find, say, the look in week 2 a little bit more challenging with the blending. But what is happening this week, drum roll, is our flick liner, which some of us are going to love and some of us are going to hate. And you know what? If you try it in your week's practice and you think it's not for me, it's fine. Like life in makeup is not the be on and end all when it comes to liner, even though a lot of people think the opposite. So I get that it's like a lovely thing to make you feel dressy, but it's absolutely not essential. So don't be worried if you and liner just aren't friends, but you need to try it to see how you go. I'm going to turn my heat down a bit. I have a little heater by my side because the pipes in our building is being done. Oh, Louise got her new lipsticks. That's her Undressed lip duos and beauty blocks with some little love heart sweets. I know, I love those love heart sweets, but delighted. That's a great option. For anyone who's tried Undressed, let me know if you have a favorite shade, or obviously maybe you only got one of them. It's very interesting to see what people's favorite is between Naked, Nude and Bare, because there are like just slightly different tones, but they definitely sit within people's preferences. Like you're either one or the other, I think. Okay, so what I'm going to do is while those chats are going is give myself a spritz. Because I've had that heater on, I am so dehydrated. Actually, I better check. Noelle is telling me connection perfect. Sorry, Noelle. My skin is very dehydrated from that like fake air, which a lot of us will get when the heating's on a lot at home. Oh, Amy's saying, I was so excited about Naked, but actually Bare is my favorite. I've been wearing it every day since it arrived. Interesting. Naked is my favorite, but at the same time, I love wearing all three. But if I had to pick one to take with me to the grave, I would pick Naked. I'm going to use Charlotte's Magic Serum. I did mention this. People always like to see it on. I don't think it's worth the price that you pay, personally speaking. I also have her Magic Cream Light here for anyone who has the original Magic Cream but finds it a bit heavy. So the light is like a lighter consistency. I still think it's a little bit heavy. Like if you were someone who had like an oilier skin or suffered under makeup with like quite thick creams, I don't think it's for you, even though it's a lighter version. But if you're quite dry, then it's a nice one. So I'm getting this all over my skin. They do have quite a strong scent. Now, that doesn't always mean that there's actual fragrance in it. It can mean that the ingredients inside are giving it fragrance, like our beauty base would. But I don't have the inky on this. I don't know if they're fragrance free or not. So that's just something to be mindful of. As you guys will know, whoever is sensitive, that can make some people react. So that's all I'd say. Did anybody get any new serums or any kind of new skincare bits they've added to their collection since week 1 that we've been using and loving? Let me know. I have been using the Environ Vita Peptide eye gel, and like I still have like disgraceful dark circles, but it's definitely made a difference. It's been the most consistent that I've ever been with an eye cream as well. I was saying that on my stories of the day, but I'm really impressed with it. So I'm definitely going to keep using it, and it's really expensive. It's like this tiny little eye gel, but you only need the smallest amount when you're using it. So I really like it. Oh, nice. Carol got the number 7 retinol complex. It's brilliant. Has your skin been okay with it, Carol, or have you reacted at all? Emer got the Ellen Joe serum. Nice. Oh, and the Environ eye gel. So the Ellen Joe is your hyaluronic acid, which as you could use in conjunction with, say, the Charlotte Tilbury that I just used, your vitamin A, your vitamin C. It's a great one to have for your hydration. What I am packing on there is my Beauty Base Pearl. So getting my SPF and getting that bit of glow. I am totally addicted to Beauty Base. I forgot it one weekend when I went home, and it was probably the first weekend in like 2.5 years, I'd say, where I didn't have it there. And I was lost. Like, that sounds so dramatic because it's just a base on the skin, but I actually noticed such a huge difference in like the texture of my skin and how makeup wore and everything. So yeah, slightly besotted. Okay, so my base is on. But given the eyes are a bit more simple tonight, we're going to do skin first. Or will we do skin first? Will we do eyes first? No, do you know what? We'll do eyes first because they're very simple, okay? So we're going to change up our brow product again this week. And this week we are going for a pencil, which I had in my hand a second ago. Here it is. Okay, so more products that we got. What do we have? Saoirse got Skin Ingredients products, Sally Cleanse and Veg Serum. Nice. Clear skin is clearing up. So that's brilliant. Kathleen got the Environ Retinol Serum. 3. Environ Retinol Serum. Is that the AVST, Kathleen? She said, ouch, only small amount is needed. Yes, if you're starting on level 3, have you had any experience with level A before or with vitamin A before? Or do you go straight to level 3 because it is strong, like your skin does need to build up to it. But don't worry, you'll be able to get used to it. Oh, you poor thing, I've burned my skin before, retinol and vitamin A, so do not recommend. So I'm brushing my brows through as always. I'm going to use a pencil. So typically you can have 2 types of pencils. You can have a very, very fine nib like that, or you can have like an angled tip. I actually find from experience of dealing with fabulous academy students like yourselves that people find the angled tip pencils easier. But I have this one here to hand, so I'm going to use this. Robin got the Aven Tolerance Extreme Cleansing Lotion. Nice. Aven have lovely stuff. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that we've done with all of our brow products to date, and I'm going to start down the first hair. So the main difference in using a pencil versus a pomade is that you are using a pencil rather than a brush. So when you're using your brush along here, you generally kind of draw it along and get your shape going. And I'm doing the exact same thing with my pencil, but I'm doing quick strokes. So I'm not crayoning on really heavily. I'm going really light-handed. I'm basically trying to mimic the shape that my actual hair growth would look like. And the exact same rules apply. If you start to draw up here, everything gets a bit thicker and a bit wider, so you don't have to go there. And if you do, regardless, I would say you get your spoolie out after and you brush it through. So I kind of flicked through here to create a bit of shape, get a nice kind of tail finish on your brow that will kind of extend the eye and angle it up. And then at this part here, you really want to mimic hair-like growth. The last thing you want is having a block of product, which I know we spoke about in week 1. We do not want that. It's going to look into a closer mirror to be sure. And again, if you have that kind of line of product, just get your finger and just push it through and the heat of your hand will bring it up. So tonight, right, or this week, whenever you're practicing, if you are a little bit timid when it comes to your brows, So maybe you're not really used to defining them and you've kind of been taking it easy on week 1 and 2. I want you to challenge yourself to going for that slightly thicker, more dramatic shape. It may not be your everyday. You may do it once and never again. But if you're going to do it any week, this is the week to do it, given the look that we're doing. So it's very much pitched on that kind of 90s, 40s, 50s look. And that's when brows really came into their own in terms of thickness. So let's try and thicken them up this week if we can. And what that means is we're going to start to fit a little bit more deliberately up around the arch, but keeping everything nice and soft. So again, when it comes to shade, I am using shade 3.5 in Benefit. So 1 being the lightest, 6 being the darkest. So 3.5 is kind of in the middle. And you can see when I just bring my spoolie through it, just sharpens it all up. Is anybody at the point of needing their brows done desperately? Oh, I feel like give me another week and I will be totally falling apart. Like extensions are hanging out of my head. Brows are overgrowing. Nails don't even get me started. Yeah, I genuinely feel like I am falling apart. So by week 4, I'll be like unrecognizable. So that's great. So that's our brows done. So you can always use a brow gel with them if you want to up the ante of the color a bit. But essentially with your pencil, the main difference is you're jumping up and down off the skin. So you're doing quick strokes, almost like you're hopping and skipping and sketching like a drawing, but it's just your eyebrows. So some people do find the pencil, be it angled or straight, an easier nib to give yourself that kind of lined brow down here. And like I said, that's nice to kind of slim in the face and also elongate the eyes, which can do us no harm. Anna's agreeing and saying she's going to be falling apart like me. At least I'm not my own. For eye primer, tonight I'm going to use something different. And I'm going to use the NARS Tinted Smudge Proof Eye Base. It's basically their eye primer. A slightly underwhelming feeling about this. I think it's nice. I do think that the eyelids get, well, not that I do think, the eyelids get very oily. They get very greasy. And this has a slight kind of greasy residue to it that I wouldn't trust. If I was to go and buy an eyeshadow primer, I don't know if I'd run and buy this. I think I'd prefer the MAC Painterly Paint Pot or the Urban Decay Primer Potion if I really want something that I could trust that was going to stay on my eyes all day. But it is good at colour correcting the lid. So you can see it has a bit of coverage in it. And that's really what I look for as well in an eye primer. Because if you're like me and your veiny eyelids come through, if you were to put a transparent eye primer base on, it just doesn't give you the finish of makeup that you want it to. So I do like it for that reason. So they come in different shades. That's the NARS Tinted Smudge Proof Eye Base. Has a little wand applicator. I'm just going to move this out slightly. Don't fall on me. Cool. Okay, so I said eyes are going to be very simple tonight. So good news for anyone who dreads the blending of shadow or anything like that. And we're basically going to have 2 different colors. Is the video stopped? Or is it because I got up? Am I still there? Oh, thank God. I was like, it's rolling for me. Maybe refresh, Louise, in case it's your Wi-Fi. Sometimes that can be a bugger for things. So we're only going to have 2 different eyeshadows on tonight. One is going to be medium brown and one is going to be a soft kind of beigey tone. And the main thing is there is going to be no shimmers involved. So this is where you'll actually bring out your lighter matte colours, which sometimes I don't know how relevant they are, but then they do add, for children on Wi-Fi, they do add a lovely finish to the look. Okay. Ooh. So if you wanted to keep it simple, you could use your bronzer again up here. Happy days, I do it all the time. But for the sake of showing you something different, I'm going to go to a MAC eyeshadow palette. And I'm going to take this color here. And this is called Saddle. So Saddle is essentially your medium brown, your blending color, whatever label we want to give it. And that's all we're going to do. So we're going to bring this back and forth. And you'll notice that my hand is circling like so. So I think the biggest mistake that people make here is they choose a color that's too dark. So when you're only kind of applying that medium tone to add a bit of contour to the eye, we kind of get a bit excited because we're like, oh, we're not going to have the dark brown or whatever that we're used to. So let's go for a really dark, nice, sultry color, but it just closes the eyes. So the whole purpose of taking a spin on it like this is that the eyeliner stands out the way you want it to on the eyes without having a load of shadow to go into competition with it. And by the way, this is not the only way to wear a liner or the only way to wear a red lip. It's just for us to make the looks as different as possible, to cover as much variety, I suppose, as possible. But you can absolutely get your red lip on with your big smoky eye, you know, if you want to. That's absolutely fine. So I'm then going to go to this matte color here. And this is called Brulee from MAC. And I'm going to pat this onto my eyelid. So essentially, you could just put a bit of concealer here. You could leave it at your eye primer, whatever it is that works, once you have that kind of brighter lid. So sometimes I will say, like, as much as we love shimmers and, you know, we're all magpies and we love that bit of glow, there's something really clean and really timeless about a full matte eye. And it looks, like I said, a lot cleaner and a lot more effortless, as if you just like whisked it on and then you look fabulous. So I'm just kind of patting that down. So the same rule applies when you're doing this. You get it right into the lash line to be sure it doesn't look like you left anything behind. And then all we're doing is popping that kind of medium brown behind it. And that's it. That is the only thing that we're doing on the eyes, except we're going to add wing liner as well. So don't be worried if this kind of medium color comes down a bit. The main thing you want to do is just look like the two make sense together. One is adding a bit of shading and then one is adding a bit of brightness to the lid, and that's it. It is really as easy as that. So we're only going to have two colors going on tonight, and they are the two that we have chosen. Okay, I am going to apply, I sharpened it, yes. I'm going to apply the nude liner into my eyes. Do you know what? These Charlotte Tilbury ones wreck my head. I sharpened it and everything and it's still crap. I think it's totally dead inside. Okay, I'm going to give this a go. So this is to kind of give us that brighter, more wide awake eye. Obviously, we compared nude with brown. And week 2. Sorry if nobody likes watching that. I know it's a bit too close. So that will show up more when we get our base on. So tonight, like I said, we're going to do cream contour. So I love cream contour, but not in the sense that is often associated with Instagram. So this is no disrespect. If you like to do the kind of heavier look, absolutely go for it. Personally, I prefer creams when it's a bit more of that kind of dewy summer makeup and you have that cream consistency. However, we are going for glam. So we're going to push ourselves outside our comfort zone slightly and we're going to add a little bit more coverage. And I'm going to show you how by layering that little bit more, everything starts to get a little bit more dramatic. So we're going to start with under eye concealer. And I'm going to use shade Beige, which I have taken out in a flurry of product in front of me. So it's hard to know what is what. Beige. There we go. So beige is going to go on underneath the eyes. So I'm doing everything as normal. So I'm starting with my liquid under eye concealer. I'm going to tap that in, or you can use your finger, whatever you prefer. As always, this totally cleans up any outer edges, so don't be panicking if you find that your shadow is imperfect at the side. So get your ring finger or your brush, and you're just going to tap that in to be sure that you have your kind of brighter under eye. So essentially, the reason why our coverage is upping this time is because we're applying our concealer as normal. We're going to apply our foundation as normal. And then we're going to add back in concealer for structure. So not only are you getting the general coverage that you would of your main base products, you're upping a little bit to add a bit more to it. So some of us will try this and we'll be like, oh my God, I love this for a nighttime look. And then some of us will try it and think, oh, I just don't know if it's me. And don't worry if you're in either of those pools. But what I will say is there's always a lovely place for creams in your makeup bag for a very natural, dewy, radiant finish outside of this. So I'm trying to use a different color each week. So I'm going to use Light Golden, which is one of our newer shades. I really like this. It's more of a yellowy version of our most popular, Light Plus. Light Plus. Light Plus is more neutral. Light is more kind of beigey, and then Light Golden is more yellowy. So it has a little bit more color to it. So it is like slightly darker than Light Plus, just given the tone of it. So I know that confuses a lot of people. It's bringing us back to our skin undertones. So this is in the matte finish, and I just have 1.5 pumps going all over, and I'm blending it out. So buffing it into the skin. So Anna's asking, I find when I apply my concealer that I'm applying loads of product, but when it blends, I don't feel like it's covered anything and I can see my dark circles. Am I blending the product in wrong? So is it our concealer that you're using, Anna, or do you know what brand it is, just so I can get to know the consistency a bit better? But generally I find sometimes we can end up blending things away as well. So that's why sometimes getting your finger in, so the heat of your hand, in those kind of delicate areas and those kind of delicate consistencies can be great, because it kind of sets. So the heat of your hand kind of blends and sets it in nicely so that it's sitting there and staying there, but not going anywhere. If, discoloration is really your thing, I often go for a peach color corrector. I think it can do no wrong and sit underneath your concealer. Absolutely think it does wonders if your dark circles are that much of a thing for you. It's with every concealer. Okay. So like if the concealer has pigment, it shouldn't be disappearing. So I would try doing it with your finger rather than a brush, in case you're putting too much pressure on the brush and it is, haven't tried yours yet. I'm going to argue that you won't have any uses of ours. I'm only joking, but I do absolutely love it. And it's probably received the best feedback, well, outside of Second Skin, that we've ever, on anything we've ever done. But in general with concealer, I would try and use your ring finger instead of a brush, in case the brush is absorbing a lot of the product. Or if you're using a sponge, move away from a sponge in case that's absorbing a lot of the product, and see if that makes a difference. Focus in here, and then you should be just drawing the excess out. So it doesn't matter if you don't have loads back here, provided you have it around your discoloration. And if that fails, I would try your color corrector, your peach color corrector, because I think that would be a really good benefit to your skin. Okay. So I'm now going to draw a sketch of what we, sorry to turn around, are going to create. So this is the start of our cream contour. So essentially for your cream contour, you want to have a lighter shade and a darker shade of concealer. So you want to do in a pot or in a liquid, whatever you prefer, but you have to remember cream products spread quick. So they blend and they spread really fast, which is brilliant, but also scary. And I'm just trying to say that speaking to camera, and also trying to get my darker shade, because I put everything down in the one spot. So Anna is saying, yes, I would actually agree. Would have found a blend up until I started using Brighten Up. Oh, Jesus, thanks, Amy. Love hearing that. But sculpted aside, and I hope those tips help. So I would definitely give them a go and see. There she is, right in front of me. Okay, so like I said, you can use liquid or you can use cream. I'm going to do a liquid darker color. I'm going to do a cream lighter color, just for the sake of showing you as much as possible. A cream consistency like this is going to be a little bit heavier, so bear that in mind. So we're going to get a little bit more coverage from it, and we're going to up the ante of our look a little bit more with it. So I'm taking my concealer brush. So I'm going to draw a sketch for you now. I'm going to pop a little bit of this underneath the eyes. So this is essentially where it's already gone first. A little bit down the center of my nose. I'm going to do a little tree up here. If you are conscious that you've got a tiny forehead, give yourself more concealer. If you're not, just leave it off. Okay? This is just a sketch, okay? So bear with me. So that's the lighter concealer. So that's our complete cover up in shade 2.5. The foundation I'm wearing is shade 3.75. I'm now going to take our Cocoa Brighten Up. So this is essentially a concealer for a deeper skin, and I'm going to use it for my contour. So Robin's asking, how much darker should the darker concealer be? I'm very pale. I just bought your vanilla concealer. So it's funny, right? typically I would have said, oh, make sure you only go like 2 shades darker so you're not going into like orange territory or having anything that's like super dark and mucky looking. Whereas Michelle on our team, who wears porcelain in Second Skin, uses caramel and brighten up and just uses a tiny amount, and it's beautiful on her. So you might have like a contour palette, you might have, you know, the different pan shades, which are all fine. But personally, I don't think you really need a whole palette of concealers unless you're used to using it. So I'd often suggest that you buy one darker color, be it, you know, a MAC cream base in mid-tone sepia, be it the Benefit Quickie Contour Stick by Hoola, or be it a darker concealer that you play with. There's loads of options for things like that. Okay, so this is kind of what shape you're looking at. So you're looking for lighter underneath here, down there, up the center, and then you're looking for the 2 dots. So I'm going to take the same brush that I would use if I was doing my powder. It's my double-ended brush. And I'm going to keep the exact same basis here where I'm blending, not running riot, keeping it at my cheekbone, and I'm blending it out. So the freaky thing with creams is that they blend quickly. So all of a sudden it moves and you're thinking, oh, Jesus, what am I going to do with this? But the worst thing you can do is when it blends and moves and you think, oh God, I've lost a lot of the color, is go in and add more. Because eventually liquid or cream have nowhere to go. So essentially they just sit there. You're always going to typically set your creams or your liquids with a powder if you tend to get a bit oily. So I can pop a bit of bronzer on this that will keep it in place. So I do not need to go in with any more. And obviously I don't need to apply anymore. I'm going to bring this around my hairline and I'm going to blend in towards the forehead. So keeping it nice and dispersed, nothing too heavy, too strong. And then the very, very side of my nose, which actually was too much for the side of my nose, but I'll show you this now. So I'm keeping it just to the very tip of it and then slightly in here. So this is a really good example. So that line there is too low down for this to actually have an effective contour on my nose. So I need to shave off the bottom area of that because essentially it should be just my foundation or concealer color there, and then just the very tip of my nose gets contoured. So nose contour is very interesting. For some of us who have never done it before, you're going to be like, oh my God, have I given myself a nose job? But I would definitely try it. I think it's interesting to see exactly how much makeup can do. And you may not do it every day, like I certainly don't. But it's still worth trying. So I'm going to go to the smaller end of my foundation duo now. And I'm going to blend out that lighter cream. So essentially it's going all up underneath that eye area. And I'm fanning out that concealer, blending it there, and blending it down there. So can we see straight away how the coverage is very much increased? You know, that's with no powders or anything yet. So we can see the incision. Obviously you can go for a lighter color, apply a dot less if you want. It doesn't have to be as strong, but for the sake of camera, why not? But like I said, some people will love this. Some people might already be doing it, and it's like consider their going out look. And some of you will be terrified, but you'll definitely have fun doing it. So again, going back over creams, right? I'm applying 2 small dots on my cheekbones. So I'm keeping it to the area that I want to apply the product. And when I'm blending, I'm not going wild. I'm keeping it into my cheekbone. I'm following the exact same steps. And I'm bringing it up to meet the tip of that cheekbone to be sure I lift my face. So I'm using the side of my brush to be a bit careful with it. Might just use the excess for this side of my nose because I applied too much on the other side. Like so. And then 2 little dots down here. Again, if you are very conscious that you have a huge forehead, and I'm sure you don't, you can give yourself a little bit more bronzer or blend it in a little bit further. So how are we feeling? Are we thinking, whoa, that's interesting, I love that? Or are we thinking, whoa, that looks terrifying? I'm going to take the lighter concealer and I'm going to add a little bit underneath here. So like I said, you could still use your liquid under eye concealer underneath there. I'm just showing you a different consistency for the sake of it. You have to say, I can't believe how little product of the dark concealer is needed. I know. And I suppose the other side of that is because our our Brighten Up concealer is extremely pigmented. So you might be using a certain liquid that's a little bit more sticky or a little bit more drier and set. So you might need slightly more of it. But definitely liquids and creams move easy. So you'll be really surprised by how much they just go. But it's a really fun way to do it, to try it. Faye is saying it looks nice and easy but terrifying. Don't worry, Faye. You'll be grand. So if you have like a product at home, like personally my preference would be like in a little cream pot if you wanted to buy like an actual contour bronze cream product for yourself. So they're great to have. So what we need to do now is we need to set this. Now, one thing I would say is when you're setting this, you are by no means looking for the same amount of coverage and sculptness that you have on already. This is your base, this is your precision, this is your definition. You're just looking to set it. So what I'm going to do is take, what one will I take? There we go. I'm going to take a pressed powder to show you guys this. So this is the MAC Blot Pressed Powder. So this is a really nice one if you are noticeably oily. Like if you know within 2 or 3 hours, okay, I am going to need my blotting sheets. I get very, very oily. So I'm going to lightly pop this into my cheekbones and lightly around. So that's essentially anywhere where I have the darker color, and that's because this is in a darker color. It also comes in lighter colors too. So it depends on what one you have, or you could use like your Laura Mercier translucent powder, your Catrice translucent powder, your Rimmel, whatever it is, the one that you have. You're just looking to capture your oils. That's it. Anna is asking, if we wanted to purchase your concealer for contouring, would they help us shade match? Shade matching foundation concealer, my biggest nightmare. Absolutely. To be honest though, we only really have 2 shades. We have Caramel or Cocoa. Caramel is slightly lighter than this, and Cocoa is our deepest. So they're your 2 main options in terms of a contour with Brighten Up because they're the deepest shades. So anything beyond that or before that won't be dark enough. And like I said, like Michelle who wears porcelain, uses caramel and just uses a tiny amount because as you can see you don't need a lot. So it's actually the easiest one to shade match with, but obviously for a standard concealer and foundation match we can of course help because we know how much of an annoyance or frustration or difficulty that can be. So for blusher, we're not going to go mad on blusher, but obviously it wouldn't be me doing my makeup if we didn't have any blusher. So what we are going to do is use a peach matte blush. So peach is great, like I said, from week 1 in terms of anyone who is like a bit scared of blusher, has quite rosiness to their face already. And a matte means it's got no shimmer, no shine. So we're keeping this look totally matte. So I'm going to use this peach here. And I'm just going to pop it into the apples of my cheeks. So I'm using my powder duo. I'm using the flatter side tonight, just for the crack. So I'm popping it into my cheeks, but angling it back this way. So this is lovely because you get that pop of colour in the centre, but it's matte. It's not going to interrupt the look. It's not going to age it. It's not going to add any extra glow. It's just going to give us a lift where we need it, but all of this stays very chiseled and very sculpted. Excuse the pun. Very sculpted. Whenever I see the word sculpted, I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about us. I'm like, no, it's just a standard makeup term, maybe. They're not speaking about you. So any questions on skin? Because we're going to move on to do our flick liner now. Dun, dun, dun. I'm only joking. I'm only making it up because I find people's messages about it so funny. But honestly, it's absolutely grand. I'm just going to take some bronzer and I'm going to shade a small bit underneath my eyes. So the bronzer is like a medium color. You don't necessarily look at the eyes and think, oh God, yeah, there's the bronzer. But it adds a little bit of definition, a little bit of something around the eyes that we might be lacking. Okay, so when it comes to liner, right, there are a few ways you can do it. The one that I'm going to use tonight is the Inglot number 77 gel. This is a brilliant product. It lasts all day. It's really jet black. However, it can be a nightmare and a half times 4 to get off if you've got sensitive eyes or if you're practicing with it. So if you want a cheap and cheerful, simple pot to get yourself going with it, I would try the Maybelline or the Rimmel gel pots that you can get in stores, and it's like €10. It may not be as jet black and long lasting, but they're perfectly fine to practice with, and I think they're a good option if you know you're going to be taking it on and off a few times and your eyes will get sore. So that's just an FYI. I need to brush my brows too because they're wrecking my head because I feel like some of the hairs are down. You could also start by having your kohl pencil or your shadow on the eye as like a sketch, to sketch it out. So I'm going to show you that on one eye before I do the other. So I'm going to go back to my In Bloom Full Face Edit, and I'm just taking the dark matte. So it can be a black, brown shadow, whatever you want it to be. And I'm going to add a very, very small kind of tail line for myself back here. But obviously it's far less daunting applying it with the shadow so that I can copy and trace my gel liner over it. What I'm going to do in this eye is have no trace line because that's what we want to gear up to. So ignore that shadow liner for a sec. So first things first, gel liners for majority can be very air sensitive. So that means that you don't want to leave it with the lid off for ages because it'll dry up to a little shrivelly ball and then it disappears on you and it's a nightmare to use. So I would pop it down on its head while you're using it and it'll just keep the air nice in. So I'm using my angle brush for this. So my angle brush is the one that has a slanted tip and you're always working with the tip facing in here. So you'll notice first that I'm getting the excess off onto my hand. You can use like the side of the pot. You can use your hand, a palette, whatever it is that you want to use, but I would definitely scrape the excess off. So I think two of the biggest things that start us off in the wrong foot is having way too much product in your brush or having a brush that's way too thick. So if you get an angle brush that isn't like razor sharp thin and it's already very thick, you can't physically make it any thinner than what that brush is. So that already is a bit of an annoyance. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start by getting our baseline on. So say flicks aside, they don't even exist yet. We're just getting our liner onto the eye. So I'm going to pull my eye very gently. I'm going to face the brush down into my lashes and I'm going to draw it along my lash line. Now, I started about there. Reason being, when you first hit your eye, you might be a little bit shaky. And what you want to make sure of is that as you get closer in here, the line gets thinner. So you don't want to go right in there and then be like this, and then the line goes too thick. And if it's too thick in here, you've got one option, and that's to keep going thicker and thicker and thicker. And then before you know it, you've got panda eyes, which we don't want. I'm just looking down into my mirror. I need to bring that in closer. Another question about the inside here. Do we always need to bring it all the way in? And no, you don't. I would often, on my eye, just do a side flick exactly like that, like I've done with the shadow, and not bring it the whole way in because I find the further in I bring it, the more closed my eyes can look. Now, in saying that, it is a bit of a catch-22 because although your eyes look more closed, they're more framed and they're more intense and they're more feline-like. So sometimes it's just about suiting the look, but you don't have to bring it all the way in if you don't like it or if you find it too difficult. But one thing you do need to make sure of is that wherever it hits the eye, it's totally seamless into the lash line. So say if I just started there, I couldn't have it like jotting up where you can see the starting point. You want it to look like it's just flowing out of your lash line. So the first step is literally painting your lashes if you're fair like me, getting it on. I find it easier pulling my eye. You can also look down into your mirror. Some people have unbelievable steadiness. So you could stop there. You could literally just draw your black line on, say nothing to no one and think, that's great. That is my eye look done. I'm just getting rid of my paw prints. And it's lovely. It frames your eye. It gives you the elevation that a black does and no hassle. However, we are here to do a flick. So two things you have to remember. Why are you giving yourself a flick? And the whole reason you're doing it is to lift the eyes. And the other side of it is your eye shape may not allow for a massive flick. You might not be able to go Amy Winehouse vibes, and that's fine. Sometimes the teeny tiniest flick on your eye relative to your eye shape can make it look just as wild as Kim Kardashian and Amy Winehouse rocking theirs. So I'm going to start with the tip of the brush, and I'm going to go to my last lash. So I'm going to my last upper lash. Some people go down here, and they focus on their lower lash line, and they start up, which is fine for a lot of us, but some of us, our eyes naturally come down. So if you go to the end of your eye, you're almost like swooping up to get it. And sometimes when you go, woo, and you swoop up, it ends up looking like a Nike tick instead of a flick. And I mean that seriously. We don't want any Nike ticks. So I'm going to start at my last lash. And I'm going to just very gently, very light pressure, draw a flick out. It looks bizarre. I've got a line coming out of nowhere. But one thing I have done is made sure that my brows are on first because I'm drawing that flick up to that. So I'm not cutting into the brow, I'm not coming out to the side of my eye, and I'm not coming down to draw my eye down. I'm going in line with the end of the brow, which I find so helpful. So I flicked out. I'm now turning the brush around. I'm not going to the very tip because I want to leave that nice tapered finish. I'm going to go about 3/4 the way, and I'm going to draw back in. And then your last step is to fill in that little gap there that you've just created. How easy was that? So the further out that you draw this, the bigger your flick is going to be. It's far easier to do a whopper big flick than it is a tiny one. So that just takes practice. So I would just very lightly flick your brush, you turn it around, you draw back in. What you really want to make sure is that you really get into that lash line. For any kind of fair hairs like I have, they drive me insane. Because when you're wearing black, you want to have your black on. I'm going to show you a cleanup tip, which I'm sure you can all guess what it is because it is so important. So one of the biggest difficulties that people have when they do their one eye is trying to mirror that on the other eye. And that is definitely a challenge. Like we said with our brows, they're sisters, not twins. Our eye shapes can be slightly off. Like I definitely prefer blending on, I think it's this eye versus this eye. There's always something slightly off, and it's true. So it does wreck people's heads. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to replicate my initial steps of drawing this into my lash line. I need to look into my smaller mirror to be sure that I'm getting my eyes. So I'm looking into my full face edit, right into the lash line. Not leaving any gaps and not starting up too high. So important. And then here I have my shadow as a little stencil. This can be a great tip, like I said, if you really struggle with like the shape first, but you still need to get that pressure nice and light before you apply it. 3/4, draw back in, and then fill in the gaps. So I have made this flick a little bit thicker in here versus that one. Okay, so I know it's only subtle, but there's still a difference. So my easiest option is to thin this out to make it similar to that flick. Or I could make this thicker. But sometimes if you go into flicks to make them thicker, or a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, it ends up going so much bigger and wider that you're like, oh Jesus, it's now my whole eye. So say if I take, I'm laughing because I've seen it so many times, and it's happened to me so many times as well. So I'm taking my Cover Up concealer in my shade 2.5 with my flat concealer brush. And I'm going to shape up alongside here. So I am really putting pressure on that to move it. I'm not panicking when I see the black go. That's brilliant news for me because it means my liner is moving and changing and shaping up to be a slightly thinner shape. And I'm just going to wipe away the excess. Some people will show you doing this step with an eye makeup remover. But the only thing I'd say there is it can make the skin back here very sticky. So you might find it doesn't stick as well. So I personally think concealer is a little bit easier. I'm going to do the same thing over here and just draw it out a bit. And let me tell you, right, I have been doing flicks on clients since I was 16, right? So 12 years of me doing eyeliners, and I would still always do that cleanup tip. I think there's absolutely no shame in it. And it even just makes the whole eyeliner look a lot more elegant, a lot more feline, and a lot more dramatic. So what you want to do is just get your brush and run it alongside it. So you're teasing and pulling it, but you're not getting rid of it entirely. Like so. And then just wipe away your excess. So you can start with shadow. You can start with kohl. You don't have to do gel if you don't want to. I definitely prefer a gel to a liquid liner. Everyone has their own preference. For me personally, I find liquids can be quite drying on the eye, and they can be a little bit bitty, like they can flake off a bit. So I just prefer gels. However, if you have learned with a flick liner and you can do it, I always say do not fix what is not broken, so keep with it, particularly when it comes to flick liner, and it's so challenging for people as it is. So if you love your liquids, stick with it. Absolutely. I'm just going to show you another brow product that's here beside me. Light brown, yeah. It's the Benefit Microfilling Brow. So it kind of creates like little prongs in the brows to make them a little bit thicker and fluffier. I'm just going to add a few dabs of this through. Kind of looks like a fork. Just to give it a bit more shape. So we're also going to do lashes because we're going glam. So you don't have to do lashes if you don't want to. But tonight I'm going to use a 3/4 length strip. These are called side sweep. So flattering on the eyes if you like that kind of elongated shape, which most of us wear lashes for that reason. So I'm peeling the pack back to take the lash off. So important when it comes to strip lashes that you don't just try and force it off here. Peel the pack and get right in so you're lifting the lash off in one and you're not leaving any lash behind. So when it comes to strip lashes, my step one is you measure them to your eyes. So a lot of them come way too long, or you might just prefer to shorten them for the sake of your eye shape. So you need to measure them up first. So I'm looking at that. It is a 3/4 length, but I want to make it a little bit more 3/4 length. So I'm going to cut a bit off the end here. Like so. And there's my scissors. When I'm cutting, not the most elegant beauty scissors, but you know, I'm always cutting from the longer end. So I would have always gotten clients who said to me, oh no, please don't cut the longer end. I want them to be really long. They will always be really long because they're being cut relative to your eye shape. And sometimes when you cut the inner corner, it makes it not settle on the eye, so it doesn't flex it as much, so it ends up lifting. So you're better off cutting from out here, I think. Okay. So now I just need my glue. Does anybody have any questions on anything so far? Will this be like, for some of us, the look that we're used to doing? Is it totally out of anybody's comfort zone yet? How are we feeling? Can't wait to see us all in our red lips. Will anybody actually do anything nice for Valentine's that might involve a red lip? Are we the classic Valentine's type? Thank you, Faye. And it's definitely nice to see it in stages. I think over the weeks, we always try when we're doing this academy, like that you're building on stuff. So like, you know, if we'd given you this in week one, it might have been a bit like, whoa, that's loads. So my glue is on. So now kind of peeling back the band to make it nice and flexy. And I'm giving it a shake. Carol's having a fight with eyeliner at the minute. Oh God, Carol, the poor eyeliner. Mairead is saying it's totally new for me. Okay, well, Mairead, we haven't even gotten to the red lip yet. But you'll be gorgeous. And again, like with any look, you know, I'm only joking when I say, oh, it's so glam, it's so different. But you do what you want with it. Do you know, if you want to do your normal skin and apply your liner and red lip and not go in your cream contour, that's absolutely fine. Or if you want to do this and more, then go for it. So I'm going to pop this. I'm looking down into my mirror, right into my lash line. And then I'm kind of securing the edges around it. But one thing I'm making sure is to keep those edges secured because they're the ones that will lift. So I'm kind of looking down, giving them a gentle prod into my eyes. Sorry if I look like I'm doing meditation. I promise I'm not. And I'm just going to give them a little flow down to be sure they're not irritating me at all. That is the difference, ladies and gentlemen, with your lashes. So there are side sweeps. So again, like all our lashes, they are a very lightweight band. I personally would be asleep at the table if I wore a very heavy one. So they're very natural, but they give you that lovely wispy effect. So I'm peeling this back. Never assume that what you cut off one eye is enough on the other, because again, our features can be quite odd and they can be quite different, like we've discovered. So I'm measuring it up here to see, okay, I need to take a bit off that. Kind of like hoochie mama. And I'm going to chop from the longer end. I know you're probably all jealous, wondering where I got my scissors. I'm never really bothered about, you know, having like the girliest, freshest tools. It's always just whatever's there beside me. I used to be doing weddings and I'd be like, do you have a kitchen scissors by any chance? And they'd be like, what? Like, yeah, I just need to cut my lashes. Like, okay, no problem. So I'm just using the end of a concealer bottle to apply my glue. Kind of just depends what you prefer or what you have handy. So giving it a shake, giving it a bit of flex back and forth. I don't have any mascara on yet. So like I said last week, I'd prefer to do mascara after. If you like to do it before, go for it. I'm then going to place it into my lash line and fix down my edges. Has anybody got any like funny disaster stories when it comes to lashes they'd like to share and entertain us with? So give them a nice kind of gentle prod in. So obviously when you've been kind of shaking the glue, you've been kind of making it tacky so it sticks a bit easier. So what I'm doing now is just being sure that the sides settle the way we want them to. Like so. And then with my liner, I'm just going to dot a little bit onto that glue point to be sure that they disappear and all just merge in. Wonder, can I make that a bit thicker to show you a little tip? Oh yeah. So say that little bit of my liner there, right? Now this is being totally pedantic, but there will be times where our liner might look absolutely like 95.5% perfect. And there'll be a small bit on the eye that's raising a little, and that's driving us insane. So it's far easier to do this with shimmers, by the way, but there is a way that we can slightly fix it. So if you took your cover up concealer, so I'm using the lighter shade to kind of mirror that eyeshadow shade, or go back to your eyeshadow, whatever you prefer. And with my flat brush, I'm going to try and just cover over that small area that's jotting up. So I'm literally nearly trying to erase it with my concealer. And like I said, shimmers generally takes this a bit easier because they have like a thicker consistency, which I know sounds ironic because they're shimmer and they're lighter, but they do. And I'm just going to go back in and just glide over that liner again. So it's not like the best fix in the world, but it definitely gets you out of a hole if your liner has just gone a certain way and you didn't want it to. And Kathleen is asking, are they easy to take off? So it depends on your glue, but generally you'll have a latex or latex-free glue, and you just peel them, or you can use like an oil-based cleanser. But I find it's never damaging your lashes, so I just kind of whip them off, and they're good to go. So I generally don't have any issues at all, particularly when it's a lighter weight band. So they're very soft on. So now we're going to get our red lip on, and I'm going to use our Lip Duo in Ruby Rouge, which is a gorgeous blood red. So one of the biggest questions when it comes to red lipstick is, how do I know what red is right for me? And how do I make my teeth look more white? Whiter, sorry, not more white. So in terms of choosing your red, it comes down to preference. So I know that they say, okay, a certain shade of orangey red suits that or whatever, but I think ultimately a classic red suits everyone. You can never go wrong. And a classic red is essentially this kind of blood red here. So it's got a bluer undertone, which you may not be able to see, but essentially what it means is it makes the teeth look whiter. If you wear like an orangey red, and I still love them, I still think they have a place in your makeup bag and they're lovely for a type of season, they can tend to make the teeth look a bit more yellow. So anything that has a cooler undertone in it will make the teeth look a bit more white. Why do you keep saying more white? Whiter. Anyway, we're going to go for maximizing our lip shape tonight, right? And this will not be for everyone. Some people will do it already subconsciously. Some people will never do it. You don't have to, but it's just so we're covering off all bases. So I'm going to start by taking my lip liner. I'm going to line on this side just under as if I was maximizing. The other thing I'd say is, if you're wearing red for the first time and say you really want to get a red, you're like, I just really want to do it. I love seeing it on people. Get something that's moisturizing. So try and avoid a matte, because I feel like when you wear a matte, you're very aware that it's matte and you're very conscious of what's on your lips, unless you have a general preference for matte. So matte is more dry and will typically last longer, but can be quite drying on the lips, depending on what one you get. But I find if you wear something creamier, more moisturizing, it's more of a nicer experience to wear. So it opens you up to more shades quicker, I think. And then on this side, I'm going to follow my natural lip line. So obviously this looks drastically different now when it's only red lip liner, but you shouldn't notice it when it all comes together. So if ever you're maximizing your lip, I would never go outside the actual lip. So you follow like the faint white line just underneath it, but I wouldn't be drawn down here, because then when you start eating or drinking and your lip liner comes off, it's like the lip liner, a bit of skin, and then the lips shortly follow after, which we don't want. So you're just drawing in that kind of faint white line just outside the lip shape, or you just focus on your actual natural lip line. Either is perfect. You might do it on one, so you might do it on like your lower lip versus your upper lip, or just in your upper lip, depending on whatever you think suits you or what you need or what you'd like. I'm taking it nice and easy, so I'm not up here like this to make sure it stays. I'm holding it low down, like so. Okay, say if I'm like, oh, I don't like that Cupid's bow. I don't know why I drew it like that. Take it off and go again. You can always fix things. So just overdrew this side then to match. When you're wearing statement colors, some people like to fill their whole lip with the actual lip liner. That can help as like a barrier to keep your lipstick on for longer. I just find that lipstick is the one thing that you have to touch up, regardless if it's like every 4 hours instead of 10 minutes. It is something that has to go in your makeup bag, and it's something that we would say to every bride, you know, non-negotiable. You need to have your red lipstick or your lipstick, whatever shade you're using, with you. So I'm now going to fill the lipstick into it. Like so. So with red in particular, because it'll show up quite differently, or any sort of statement color, to your natural lip, I get quite far in. And I know we run the risk of it being on our teeth then. But what I would do is blot here. And when you blot on a tissue, you're picking up the excess, but you're not getting rid of any color on the inside, which you need when you're speaking, particularly if you have a slightly bigger lip. But the essential, and I'm sure you could have guessed when it comes to red, is I'm going back to my concealer, or you can use your foundation color if you want it to all look one. I'll show you my foundation color. So I'm going to pump a small bit of the matte onto my hand. I'm going to take my flat concealer brush, and I'm going to sharpen, clean off of my hands. I'm not spreading red. Sharpen, clean off on my hand. 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 Now that is something that you can do irrespective of what color you're wearing. If you're a little bit fearful of lip liner, it's a great way to rest assured that your lip shape is there and normal looking. What I'm going to do now is just add a little bit more lip liner into the edges. Sorry, it's very hard to speak as you're doing red lipstick. So there we go. That is the final statement piece to our look. So like I said, this is not to say that you can only ever wear a red lip with a flick liner and lashes and a big contoured skin, or that you can only wear contoured skin when you have your liner on with no eyeshadow. It's just a way of us showing you an entire variation of each look. So tonight's focus was matte skin, red lips, flick liner, lashes. So this is kind of the matte finish. I'm going to show you a way to modernize it now if you want to apply a bit of highlight and the difference that makes. But I'll just leave it like this for a sec for anyone who wants to see the matte. What are our thoughts? Are we like, do we have a red lip raring to go? Are we a little bit like, oh, Jesus? I'm sure we're not. I'm sure we're all so excited for red. What will I put on? I'll do this one actually. So again, that's Ruby Rouge. We also have Double Trouble, which is a little bit of a lighter red. But Ruby Rouge is great in terms of like that classic classic red. So if you wanted to take this, right, and you wanted to say modernize and add a bit of glow. Oh, nice. Kathleen bought Ruby Rouge at Christmas. So I'm going to take Rose Gold Glow from our In Bloom Full Face Edit, and I'm going to add a little bit into the tips of my cheekbones, tip of my nose, like so. So I'm kind of fanning it on. You could also do this with cream or liquid, like so. I'm going to take a little bit into my tear duct, like so. And I'm going to add a glow into my blush. And one last thing, I'm going to take that shimmer highlight that I was using, and I'm going to add a little bit up here into the inner corners. So this is just to kind of show, like I said, how to modernize a matte look. If there's any of us who, you know, never want to sacrifice our shimmer or our glow, which is fine, or if you prefer a matte, stick with a matte. But it's just the easy way to show you actually how much adding a shimmer can really change things. So there you go. Adds a bit of life back in. Aoife is saying, I have a red lipstick but no red liner. It'll be grand. It will be fine. That's absolutely grand. So just fill in with your lipstick, clean up with your concealer and flat brush, and even get a little cotton bud, you know, the little Q-tips like this. If you need to, and just kind of clean around it or blend in the lipstick, be absolutely grand. You'll be well able. Can't wait to see it. Any other questions that I can go through? I'm like, am I looking close enough into the mirror at you all? That'd be terrifying, some people at home. Liner, lashes. Yeah, geez, I'm dreading the close-ups now. Week 4, my brows will be haggard, as will the rest of me. But it's definitely a really fun look, and it's the one that often people feel is taking them the most outside their comfort zone, and then the one that they bring most into their routine beyond this course. So because it is that bit different. And you can substitute the red for a berry, a pink, a peach, a coral at any stage. Like, you can totally do what you want with this, or you can wear with a nude lip, of course, if you wanted to as well. But it is by focusing on a statement. So I'm very, very excited to see your recreations. If you don't have a red lip and you're maybe not fussed, that's absolutely fine. If you don't have one and you really want one and you don't want to wait, I'm sure you can get a local in your pharmacy. There's always options. Amy's asking, any tips for getting the lipstick to last if the inside of your lips are on display, if that makes sense? So the biggest thing I would say, like I did earlier, is filling it in as close as you can, and then blotting to capture the excess so you don't have lipstick in your teeth. Filling the liner the whole way in first, or you can get something like the MAC lip primer. But I do find it is just one of those things that you need to reapply. So the best thing you can do is try and keep this a little bit more set and a little bit more matte, even though it's a creaminess, which is why I think the blotting helps when you apply that extra bit of product, because it's almost got a base layer there. Emer's asking, any tips to prevent lipstick from smudging? I find the cleanup with the concealer after brilliant for keeping it all inside the lines. It almost like adds like a little extra sharpness around there, not just for cleaning it up, but for keeping it from smudging and staying in. And again, focusing on a lip liner on the outside rather than a lots of lipstick, because it's a little bit more of a tacky product than a lipstick. So it sets a little bit better and it holds things inside slightly better. So I find that great. Any other questions for me? Any other chats we can have? And I will obviously put the product list for this in the group as well, for any of us who want it. And enjoy. And listen, if you wear this on Sunday, let us know. Enjoy if you get your red lips on this week. I can't wait to see them. And sorry, Carol is saying the inside of my lash keeps lifting. So you just need to give it a bit of pressure. I would nearly hold it in while you're looking down on the ground and get it to set. Or else use like an extra strong duo latex glue if you find that suits your eyes better. But it does just take a bit of prodding, particularly this corner and this corner. The center is usually okay. Just takes perseverance. Persistence and perseverance, unfortunately. But I hope everyone has a lovely week. Enjoy Valentine's if you do celebrate. and whether that's with your pals, your roommates, your other half. And I hope that you have a nice romantic Sunday. Faye is asking for fair golden matte. What beauty base would you recommend? I'm thinking ivory for concealer. I think ivory for concealer is a really good option. Beauty base, you can honestly wear either. It depends on your preference. Typically, pearl would be more suggested for a fair skin, but there are loads of fair skins who wear the original because they prefer a golden sheen. Like at the end of the day, it is only a sheen, so it's not coloring your skin or tinting it. So they're both safe options, but typically speaking, a pearl would be more recommended. I think concealer is a good option. And for any shade matching cues, feel free to throw them in the group or along with your upload homework. You know, if you have any questions specifically to yourself, which I know some of you have been asking, then we can help there too. Amazing. Well, listen, guys, have a lovely week. Enjoy yourselves. Chat to you in the group. And yeah, I'll speak to you all next week. And just before I go, Emer, oh sorry, there's 2 more questions. I'll stay for a sec. Emer, can you recommend a budget-friendly nude eyeliner? I want to see if I like it before I splurge. Rim will do one. I think this is called Nude Liner. It is slightly yellowy nude though, but it's probably the best one out there if you want to try one before you splurge. Totally get you. Anna is asking, can I ask a foundation question? Do I just go up the next shade? Tan can vary with darkness depending on how tired I am applying it. No. Like if you're talking about sculpted directly, you can't really just go up a shade because sometimes within that bracket of colors, they're just a different undertone. So if you look at light 3.0, light plus 3.5, light golden 3.75, it's not as if they're all getting darker. They actually denote to a different tone. So what I would do is tell us maybe what kind of shade you wear day to day, and we can recommend one that is considered like a tan shade, and you could always apply less or more of it depending on how much tan you had on. But sometimes it doesn't really work just as easy as going from one to the next because undertones are involved, which just makes it all so much more confusing. But do let us know in the group if we can help, and we will do so, or through your own upload of homework, Anna, when it's specific to yourself, and we can help there. So that's it. Enjoy your night. Enjoy watching it back if you do. Can't wait to see your recreations. And next week we're doing kind of burgundy, purple, smoky eyes. So I will see you next Monday, which I can't believe is week 4, by the way. But anyway, we won't dwell on that. I'll see you next Monday and chat to you guys in the group. Okay. Night.